Good day everyone. Today we will discuss further on repetition control structure looping. So what is looping? Looping is a Java program that executes certain statement repeatedly as certain condition is been true. So we'll continue looping until the condition is false, then only we terminate from the loop. Okay. Repetition control structure. So far we will learn about while control structure. So for now we will try to focus on more on for control structure. Condition must be written in a bracket. Okay. So example of question. Calculate area of 10 rectangles. Begin n. Initialize counter. Our counter value start from 1. While counter is less or equal to 10 means that is less than 10. So input length width. Area equals to length times width. Print area. Counter equals to counter plus 1. Means that increment is happen before we end the loop. Okay. Okay, now we change our pseudocode into coding. So we know that our initialized value is 1 and our loop will terminate until 10. When we reach 11 it will terminate, and our increment value is counter equal to counter plus 1. Okay, this is the coding for while control structure. How about we change this one to for control structure? If while we have initialized value, then we go for counter less than 10 means that's a expression for the loop. Then we have loop body, and then we have an increment. This one is a while statement. So when we use for, everything will happen in one single line. For example, for we initialize counter equal 1, then we have semicolon, counter less than 10, semicolon, counter equals to counter plus 1 or counter plus plus. Means that the value that we declare will be in one single line, compared to while control structure it will happen different places. Okay, how to write down for statement? First statement combines all three parts of looping structure in one statement. For counter equals to 1 initialization, then we go for semicolon, then we have evaluation, or we call it as an expression, counter less or equal to 10, then semicolon, then we updating the value or increment is happen, counter plus plus or counter equals to counter plus 1. All the three important parts in looping for looping control structure is considered in a bracket, will be have in a bracket. After the for loop, so you must have your braces to start the looping for the coding. Okay, but when we go for the statement for statement, it will be same as while looping, but the way we write down in the coding only different. For when we go for while looping, and the flowchart for while looping is considered different already, is same as while and for in the flowchart same, just we change the word while and for, but all other things in the flowchart will be same. But for coding only, it's happen in a single line for statement. So okay, example 2. So we initialize odd numbers equal to 1, while odd numbers is less than equal to 9. Then we go for total, then we have the increment value, then we end while. After we come out from the looping, then we will print, we'll find the average, and we print the total and average. So when we go for while statement, initialize will happen before the while condition, int odd equals to 1. So then we go for the looping while odd less or equal to 19. Okay, before we come out from the looping, we have the increment there. So all the braces that we have in the mark with the red line is the condition for while statement. When we change to for statement, all will happen in a single line. So means that for int odd equals to 1, semicolon odd less than equal to 19, semicolon odd equals to odd plus 2, then bracket, we close the bracket, then we have left braces or block statement will start. So there's a difference between while and for. Okay, now we go further to see the difference between while and for. Initialization to initialize appropriate counter which starts a loop. So for while we write down counter equals to 1, or you declare int counter equals to 1. We consider as you already declared in above. So if you didn't declare a integer counter, so you can write down before the counter equals to 1, you just write down int counter equals to 1. While counter is less equal to 10, then we go for the braces, left braces. Then before we come out from the looping, we write down counter plus plus, means that after that you can write down right braces to close it. Okay, right braces to close it. So when we go for counter equals to 1, counter less than 10, counter plus plus, everything happen in a single line. Then we have left braces. Then you can have your statement inside that. Then before you leave the looping, you can have a right braces. So what are the things that are very important in while or for looping control structure? The first one is initialization, is to initialize an appropriate counter which is starts of a loop. Evaluation is a condition of loop. Updating is increment or decrement of your loop. Okay. So now we go for further on what is increment and what is decrement actually. So we already know about updating is increment or decrement. If addition, for example, we have addition, is call it as a increment. If we go for subtraction, maybe it's a decrement. For example, in the loop, you can write down x equals to x plus 1, x plus plus, or x plus equal to 1. All the things are in the same meaning. For increment, we just write down in the braces of increment in the loop. So we can write down x equals to x plus 1, or you also can write down x plus plus, or you also can write down x plus equal to 1. So when we go for subtraction or decrement order, your looping will be from the bigger number will go down to smaller number. So the decrement will happen. So x equals to x minus 1, or x minus minus, or x minus equal 1. So you can write down either one of these three statement for the decrement. Anything you can use, anything is use. So if what will happen if you use x equals to x plus 2, so you cannot use the x plus 2, is wrong. But for plus 1, you still can use this one. For plus 2 or plus any other value with the x, you cannot use. Okay. Now we go for multiplication. Okay, your value improve by multiply the increment. For example, x equals to x times 2. Then you also can write down x times equal to 2. How about we go for decrement? We use division rather than subtraction. So your x equals to x divided by 2, or x divided by equal 2. Okay, either one can be used. So now we move on to sentinel. Okay, you already know about sentinel value. So for example, I declare my scanner SC, new scanner equal to system.in. So we already know our scanner will be SC. So integer variables, your variable equals to sc.next int, st.next int. So means that we will insert integer value. Initialize the loop control variable with appropriate data type. So you have to know you will use integer. Then we go for your looping. While your variable is not equal to your sentinel value, then you will continue. When you equal to sentinel value, it will be stop. Before you leave the loop, you have to do the one more insert value or one more input value from the user. Int variable equals to sc.next int. Means that the initialize will be replaced with the input value, and the updating also will be replaced with the initial input value from the user. This one is for while. Okay, for you cannot use sentinel, because sentinel is happen in a different way. For is happen in a single line. So for control structure, you cannot use sentinel. If you want to use sentinel, you have to use while control structure. Initialize in pseudocode point starting of a loop. The word initialize only occur in pseudocode. Meanwhile, in coding, replace with proper data type such as int, double, char, or boolean. And if and while or and for in pseudocode, replace with block statement, left braces to start and right braces to end looping. Okay, so for summary, we already know about sequence, selection and repetition. For sequence is be executed sequentially. For selection, single, dual and multiple. Single means one selection only if. For dual means if else. For multiple means if as if. Okay, and finally we have else statement. For repetition or looping, for our syllabus we will focus on while and for. For while, counter control sentinel will happen. For didn't have sentinel with them. Okay, so now we continue with programming errors. When you compile a coding, you will mainly you will face three errors. First one is syntax error, second one is runtime error, and third one is a logic error. When you debug your coding, so you will try to remove all the errors. So you compile, you run, you first will face on the syntax error. What is syntax error? When you compile, you will have a syntax error. So only occurs when a syntax programming language is violated, means that you use a wrong method to compile your coding. Okay, common example, you misspell your variables or function names, you miss your semicolons, so improperly you match parenthesis, square bracket, curly braces, or you use a wrong format for your looping or selection, or any statement that you are import into your coding. Okay, statement cannot be translated or program cannot be executed if you have a compile time error or syntax error. Okay, what happened when you compile and there is no syntax error? Then we already know, okay, my program is okay, no problem, no errors at all. Then you run, go for runtime error. When you run, there is a error, no syntax error, but the computer should do something else that not should it do. Okay, occurs when a program with no syntax error asks the computer to do something that the computer is unable to rely to. For example, you try to divide by a variable that contains a value of 0. For example, you want to divide 5 divided by 0. Okay, when you compile, no wrong, but when you run, it will be wrong, because 5 divided by 0 you will get an infinite loop, so infinite value, so the computer cannot find the infinite value for that one, so it become a runtime error. When you run, it become a error. Okay, and you try to link the coding to another file that doesn't exist at all. So you link to another object that doesn't exist, then you want to run the coding, so you cannot find. When you compile, no errors because the coding is okay, but when you run, you cannot find the proper object or file, so it's called it as a runtime error. There are two runtime errors. When syntax error, okay, you didn't have any syntax error, we go for runtime error. Whenever runtime error, you try to solve it. Maybe your coding is use a wrong calculation, or use a wrong place for find the object to insert to your coding. So okay, now we already can try to solve our problem in runtime error, and we go for the third one is a logic error. Means that your program didn't have any syntax error, your program didn't have any runtime error, but have logic error. Means that you try to add something, but the answer become minus. So means that you try to multiply something, the answer become divide. So it means the logic error, not logic at all your answer. So opening and using data from a wrong file, okay, is linked to a runtime error, but you link to a file, but is okay, you can try to find the object, you can find, but you link to a wrong file, so means that is a logic error. And is display a wrong message. So you want to display the student, for example, student in class feature of all pass all the subject, but the logic error is come out, the student in feature of all attend the subject, so it means that the word is different already. So the logic error output, you can see the output, but the output is not as we wanted to do. Okay, wanted to have. So very difficult to detect, because we don't know we don't know where we done the mistake, because it does not cause any runtime error and does not any syntax error, any no error messages, but we got the wrong output. The only sign of the logic error is incorrect output, right? So then we know already, oh, this one is the incorrect output, maybe the logic error is occur. can be detected by testing the program thoroughly and you comparing the output manually, calculate the result. So you have the calculator beside you, then you check back where I did the wrong. Okay, this is a logic error. For summary for this topic, we have 3 errors that we can detect when you do the coding. First one is syntax or compile time error, second one is a runtime error, and third one is a logic error. So I think that's on for chapter 3.3, and you are the future of the world. Thank you a lot. May God bless you all. Thank you.